the lenders and account numbers on the loan, your phone numbers, and your dates of birth. That is the information that you need in order to prepare a short sale loan modification package together, in order to put it together. That's all you need, basically. Once they have completed step number 1, then they need to complete step number 2. And then it says, and then collect and bring the following documents. We need to know the reason for your loan modification. That's what's called a hardship letter. Now, let me tell you something about hardship letter. Some people don't know how to write a hardship letter, and I'm going to give you an example on how to write it and what needs to say. Some people don't know how to write a hardship letter. Sometimes I help them. Sometimes they say, well, I don't know how to write it. Well, what was your hardship? Well, this and this and that. Okay, so I just make notes and I write the hardship letter for them. Hardship letter needs to be very straight to the point. Now, it has to be very poignant. It has to be very sad. Okay? I have a hardship letter the other day, as a matter of fact. I had a hardship letter from an engineer guy. It was so funny because I tend to do that myself. And the engineer started giving me facts and figures, graphs and numbers and all that, right? It's like, well, in 2008, we purchased our home for $379,975 with 20% down payment. They don't care about that. You know what I'm saying? They don't care about that. What they care about in the hardship letter is why you cannot make your payments. That's the first thing. You know, and what are you doing to help in your situation? And we're going to cover that in the hardship when we go to the hardship letter. But we need to know the reason for your modification. That's a hardship letter. We need to know your financial situation, a small list of your monthly income and expenses. When I say small list, that's exactly what I mean. As a matter of fact, when we go in to see the application for the loan modification and the financial sheet, you will see that we only have like 5 spaces to write information. Somebody brings me, for example, a list that says cable, phone, water, gas, medical expense, credit card number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, etc. I don't need that much. What I need to know is what is your total utilities, what is your total groceries, what is your total amount that you own credit cards, and what is your total payment. That's about it. I don't need a disclosure of everything. Now, some people do bring me to disclose like that, particularly the engineer. He sent me like 2 pages of disclosures of all his expenses. It was crazy, So I just grab my calculator and I start adding all the same expenses, utilities and such in one category. All right. Now, the last 2 years of income taxes, W-2s and 1099s included. If you're missing 1099s and W-2s, you will probably not get it accepted. The only caveat to that is if you have a 4506, they will probably accept that, but you guys have no way of getting a 4506 unless you ask a lender, and we lenders cannot do it unless we have a loan package open, and that's a whole nother story. So you need income taxes and W-2s and 1099. The last 2 paycheck stuff for everybody contributing in the household. When I say everybody contributing, that's exactly what I mean. Some people don't know this, and I want you to know this, that if the parents are working and they are the 2 on the loan, and they have kids that are also working and providing money to the parents, you can utilize their income to qualify for the loan modification too. As a matter of fact, one of my wife's friend was trying to do a loan modification, and she was coming up, I think, $800 or $1,000 short. And I said, well, you have a big house. Why don't you rent half of your house? You rent it out or you lease it to somebody. Get the lease agreement, get the checks, that shows that you're receiving that rent, and utilize that rent as a compensating for your income. And she did that, and she got it approved. You can use other types of income, such as rental income, and such as your kids and so on. So that's what I mean when I say everybody contributing in the household, whether that is your kids or a tenant that can qualify as well. The last 2 bank statements that show you have no money in the bank. I cannot make a small remark regarding the no money in the bank. I already explained to you the reason why. I am not going to let the banks get away with highway robbery, because that's what it is. When they ask you to give out, $40,000 in your retirement account to give it out just to do a loan modification, I don't believe in that. That's just totally wrong. The last mortgage statement on every loan against the property. The only reason why I ask for the last mortgage statement in the property is because when they call me or they email me or they text me their loan numbers, sometimes they give me the wrong number. Sometimes instead of 9009, sometimes it's so I verify the loan number against what they have sent me before, because if you send out the package with the wrong loan number, and the loan number has to be on every page, by the way, if you send it out with the wrong loan number, it may not end up in the trash bin, because they will not recognize that loan number, or it will not match to the person, and then they're going to trash your file. So you make sure that the loan number is correct, and copies of your IDs to establish identity. This is exactly what you need in order to start the process. It's not that difficult. You understand what I'm saying? Income taxes, paycheck stubs. Like I said, it's like a refinance without the refinance, really. Income taxes, paycheck stubs, hardship letter, financial situation, and mortgage coupons, and a copy of the ID. So that's step number one. And then step number two. Step number two says, create the loan modification application and the HAMP application. If using the HAMP, disregard page number 4 on my application. You need to also sign the DOD frank and the 4506. I'm going to start with the DOD frank and the 4506 because those are the simplest ones. This is the DOD frank. It is required, as of January 1st, it is required that you need to sign this one here. And it's just a silly question that says, have you been convicted of fraud in the last 10 years? And they want to know whether you've been convicted of fraud or not. And most people say no, of course. So that whether it's true or not, I don't know, but that's what most people say. And then the 4506. The 4506 is for them to be able to retrieve income taxes from the IRS, directly from the IRS. And the 4506 is very, very simple to fill out. It says here, number 1A, it says name of you as shown in the income taxes. So you need to put the name of the person. And if they're married or joined, then you have to put the name of the second person. So husband and wife, for example, name of the husband, name of the wife. Basically, that's it. Social Security numbers for both, current address, and previous address if they lived in another property previously. And then you need to check off item number 6B. Let me see. 6C. I'm sorry, 6C. You have to check off item 6C right there. And in here, you have to put the years that you want them, you're giving them permission to check. Now, here's the thing. Somebody told me not to leave the rest of the fields blank, because if you leave them blank, they can check your income taxes even the following years, next year after you do your taxes. And if your income has changed, they may come after you. You know what? That may be an urban legend, but I just don't want to risk it. So what I do basically is I say, well, if they need to check the last 2 years or the last 3 years, I'm going to fill out here 2010 and 2009, and then I'm going to do X's on the rest right here. And I just click X, and I just exit out. And I don't give them a chance to do anything like that. Like I said, it may be an urban legend, but I just rather do it that way and get it done correctly. So that's what you need to fill out in there, and then they have to sign it. And that's it. This form is pretty simple and straightforward to fill out. Okay, let's go to the other two forms. This is the loan modification application package that I created for you guys. This is the package that I've been using for the last 2 years and has always worked for me, and I hope that it works for you and it makes your life a little bit easier. One thing that you guys don't have, that I have, or you may not have, is I have a program that does mail merge. A mail merge program is basically a program in which you create a letter and you have certain fields in there, and then you go to the beginning of the program and you put the name of the person and the Social Security and the loan numbers, and I create the form, and then that mail merge program puts all this information where it belongs. Now, you guys don't have that program, and I don't want you to go and buy it because it's unnecessary, really. So what I did is I created Control Replace. And I give you instructions on the first page on how to use Control Replace. And Control Replace, if you look at my finger, is just basically you punching out the CTRL button on your computer and then the letter H. When you do that, it's going to come up with a box that says, well, you look for a term and you change it to something else. And this is what I want you to do. Okay, this is what I want you to do. Now, you may not want to use Control Replace because you say, well, I can do it by hand. You would have to copy all the information onto all of those pages by hand. And I'm talking about social securities, loan numbers, names, property addresses, date of birth, etc., etc., etc. If you do it by hand, it's going to take you about 4 hours to do it, to get it done. Okay, it's going to take you about 4 hours. So don't do it by hand. Use the control replace because it's very, very simple to use. This is the entire package that I prepared for you guys. And once you do all the replacements, you're going to have a complete loan modification package. All right? So let me show you how it works. And we're going to go page by page. Okay, so these are the terms right here. These are the terms that you need to replace right there. Now you may notice that I don't have a date of birth field on this one yet. I find it kind of unnecessary because you actually don't have to have the date of birth on the forms, but sometimes they ask you for it, and that's why I ask up front for it. But I think I'm going to just add it in there, although that will create, well, I'm going to decide whether or not I want to add it or not. You don't need the date of birth on the forms, basically. Okay, the terms to change are the following. Borrower 1, borrower 2, borrower 1 Social Security, borrower 2 Social Security, lender 1, lender 2, loan 1, loan 2, address of the home phone number, work phone number, and agent name. That's the terms that you need to change. So I'm going to do this as an example. Control replace, and I'm going to change, and I want you to copy exactly the way it says it right there. Borrower 1. And then you change the borrower 1, and I'm going to call it John Rivas. And then I am going to click on the button that says replace all. And the document has made 15 replacements. Okay? 15 replacements. I'm going to do the second one. And it's going to be borrower 2. And it's going to be Mary Rivas. It's going to replace them all. Then I'm going to do the third one. Borrower 1 Social Security. Borrower 1 Social Security. I'm going to replace it with XXX, XX6285, whatever number that is. And I'm going to replace them all. And then I'm going to say lender 1, and I'm going to change it to Chase. This is just an example, so I'm going to do it really fast. Has made all the replacements. And then lender 1, okay, that's it. Once you do that, so it's going to take you an average of less than 5 minutes to produce the entire document. Everything is going to be replaced. If some of the terms on this side, on the left side, did not change, like in this case, for example, lender number 2 did not change, that means that you did it wrong. You need to do it again, okay? Because all of these terms here would have to change. You see how this one changed from borrower 1 to John Rivas, borrower 2 to Mary Rivas, Social Security to this number, and so on. So if one of these terms here has not changed, that means that you did it wrong. You probably have to do it again. All right?
Just a quick question. Where it has lender 2 equals lender 2, would that be like Bank of America or none there? Or is
lender 1 and lender 2 refers to people that have 2 loans. Right. And the first loan is Bank of America, and the second one is, let's say, Ogwen, for example. Then you would have 2 loans, 2 lenders in there.
So on your example there,
yes,
for the second lender, you wouldn't put in lender 2, you'd put in the name of the bank, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, of course, yeah. I didn't do it just because of the time, but yeah, lender number 2 would be, for example, Ogwen.
Okay.
And then I'll replace them all.
Oh, okay, I see. I'm sorry, I thought that was fixed there, my mistake.
Yeah, no, those are the terms that you need to change.
Thank you.
Okay, second page, stacking order. I'm giving you a stacking order. That means that everything on that list needs to be on your package. Hopefully in even the same sequential order, although it's not necessary. But if you put in the sequential order, it's very simple. You grab your package, you grab the checklist, and you go, do I have this document? Check. Do I have this one? Check. Do I have this one? Check. If you're missing something, don't send the package because it's going to be a waste of time. You're not going to be able to get it through. All right? So that's the stacking order. So the stacking order is going to have, number 1, the authorization form, the financial information, the explanation of hardship, the hardship letter, and I also number them so you don't get lost. Authorization to release credit information and legal and tax aspects, number 6. Whole harmless agreement, number 7. HUD disclosure, number 8. Now there is more pages on the file, but those pages are mainly disclosures to protect you and those pages are not necessary for the bank, so you don't have to include them. Only include the ones that I'm putting in here. Paycheck stub from everybody in the family contributing, 2 years income taxes, W-2s and 1099, bank statements, last mortgage coupon, any lease or rental agreements if they're leasing or renting, and optional, the California Civil Code or the copy of the presentation. You don't have to put them. That is like totally optional. I don't even do it myself. So you don't have to put them in the package that you're sending the bank. Now, you need to have them in your file, and I'm going to explain you the reason why. When I decided back in 2008 to start doing loan modifications, it was kind of like an iffy thing in the sense that I wasn't sure if it was at all legal or not. And I wanted to make sure that I'm legal because I don't want to have any trouble, right? I don't need no more problems in my life to have legal troubles, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to make sure that, that everything that I did was legal. I consulted with my attorney, Amy, and then I said, Amy, I want to do loan modifications, and what would you suggest? And then Amy said, well, your package is fine. She said, your package is fine. The only thing that I will add for you is that possibly, if you want to, add the California Civil Code Advisory, which is pages number 9 to 313, which I'm going to show you right now. She said, make them sign that advisory. If you want to, you don't have to, but make them sign, because that explains what a loan modification specialist does, what are the rules, what are they supposed to do and things they're not supposed to do and things like that. So it says it makes them very, very clear for them that they were notified of what their expectations on you are. Okay, now, like she said, it's not necessary to have it there, but I recommended that you do, so I put it in there for you. Now, next one. I called the attorney at the Board of Realtors, and I asked them the question. I said, well, can we do loan modifications? He said, well, we don't endorse them. He said, we don't endorse real estate agents doing loan modifications, but we can prevent you from doing them. Now, the only thing that he said is the following. He says, there's only two things that I want you to make sure. Number one, that you disclose what the cost is going to be up front. You have to disclose what the cost is going to be up front, number one. And number two, he says, you cannot collect any money up front, because real estate agents only get paid from services rendered. The only caveat to that, he said, is you may want to collect some money up front if you want, put them in a trust account, but you have to create a certain system that explains how that money is going to be given to you. Are you going to collect that money for hours work, or you're going to collect that money for stages of the loan modification process? And I honestly cannot see myself doing that. We have so many transactions going on right now, it would be impossible for me to determine how many hours I'm working on one transaction, how many hours on the other transaction, or establishing, well, what step of the way we are in, getting money out and things. It's just impossible. So I say to people, by the way, I tell you this, I can honestly tell you this, I don't prospect for loan modifications. As a matter of fact, I don't do loan modifications in the general sense. The only people that I do loan modifications for is friends and family. You know, friends, referrals, things like that. I do not prospect for loan modifications. Can we do them? Absolutely. But without principal reduction, my belief is that a loan modification without principal reduction is not helping anyone. A loan modification without principal reduction is not going to get us out of the mess that we're in right now. And there is no true principal reduction, so I don't believe the loan modifications for most people are a good way to go. Unless, of course, they have a little bit of equity or they're not upside down. Yes?
Could you call yourself a specialist? Because I think that's what the board has brought.
You can call yourself a specialist. So as a matter of fact, you're getting a specialization right now.
Yeah, but I heard that from the board that you cannot call yourself.
Yes, you can. If you get the education and you get the endorsement, and you are getting the endorsement today, you can call yourself a specialist. Absolutely. Why not? Absolutely. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, the next page is a sample of the other page that I showed you. I just put it in the package so you have it as well. The next page, loss mitigation package solutions to prevent foreclosures. Okay, this is the third thing that the attorney at the Board of Realtors told me. He said, the third thing that I want you to do, Ronnie, he said, is that I want to make sure that you let people know what their choices are. Before you enroll them into loan modification or short sale, you need to let them know what their choices are, because there are several choices. And the choices are given here: refinance, HAMP, HAPA, short sale, forbearance, deed in lieu of foreclosure. So what I did is I created a presentation for you It's towards the end of this material right there, and it explains in very layman's terms. It explains exactly what is a foreclosure, how long do I have until the lender forecloses. It explains what kind of alternatives there are. One of the alternatives is with our company, and I know some hard money lenders will do that to you too. If you have somebody that has a lot of equity in the home and they have to have at least 40% of equity on the home and they're behind on the payment, and believe me, there are people that are behind on the payment that have equity on their home, believe it or not, okay? We can get them a loan for up to $50,000 so they become current while we sell their home. As a matter of fact, we have one right now exactly like that, okay? So you can get them a loan to become current until they sell their house. What about if the house doesn't have equity? They can refinance through the HAMP affordable refinance program, loan modification, short sale forbearance, and deed in lieu of foreclosure. Those are the ways that those are the solutions to the hardship that they're facing right now. Now, so that's that. Now, he said you have to let people know what the choices are. He didn't say you have to explain it to people. As a matter of fact, I made a point of that. I said, do you have to explain it to people? He said, well, no, you don't have to explain it to people. Well, you have to let them know what their choices are. So what you can do, and I'm just going to joke with this. What you can do is, at the end of a meeting, you have to sign all the papers, you give them the packet and say, here, take it home and read it. And you go. You can do that. Because what I'm saying is, you don't have to spend too much time explaining these other choices, because what's going to happen is they're going to get confused. And now they don't want to do the loan modification. Now they want to go for a forbearance. And in reality, forbearance don't work. In reality, the hard refinance program don't work. If anything, I don't think loan modifications work. But if anything, loan modifications and short sales, I think is the best solution. Now some people say, well, can I do a deed in lieu of foreclosure? Yes, you can do a deed in lieu of foreclosure, but it reports on your credit report as a foreclosure, and it prevents you from buying a home for 7 years. So deed in lieu of foreclosure is not a solution either. All right. Now, in page number 4, it says what documentation we need from you and how we can help you. And that's the entire presentation right there. Now, let's go back to the top. And we take it one at a time. Now, this form here is basically them signing off that they have received that package. So I'm protecting myself. Now I have protected myself because I have given them a package and they signed that they received it. So somebody will come to me and say, well, you didn't tell me what my choices are. Yes, it's right there. You signed that you received the package. Next, authorization form. The authorization form is going to say, by the way, Rita Flood is a negotiator for our company, and that's why the form says Rita Floods, but your forms are going to say negotiator for the most part, so don't worry about that. And you can always change whatever you want because this is a Word document and you can change whatever you want in it. By the way, I'm not copywriting any of this stuff, so you can, because it doesn't even make any sense. I know people that have copyrighted stuff and they still change it, right? So it doesn't make any difference. So you can change whatever you want. And basically states the property address, first of all, the names of the lenders, the loan number, the property address. I am working with my negotiator in my company, okay, etc., to help me resolve my loan default in the related above mentioned property. You're hereby granted permission to discuss any and all information related to this property and the loans in reference regarding a loan modification of this property with my agent, which is you, and my coordinator, which is Rita, etc. The correct number for Rita is this one. In order to keep communications clear, please direct all future calls to us concerning this matter. That is the authorization form. We have revised it over and over again because they always wanted an extra little thing in there. And we finally, about a year ago, I think we finally got it right because we sent it out and we haven't had any trouble ever since. So I think the authorization form is very complete, and the way that it is written, there is information there that you need to have, such as the name of the person, the social security, the phone number. You need to have the property address in every single form. Financial information form. Now, this one here is the form that you use for financials. If you're using a traditional loan modification, I included it in there because if you're doing a traditional loan modification for investment properties, you need this form because you're not going to use the HAMP form, which already has a financial sheet in it. Now, if you're using the HAMP form, you don't need to use this one because the HAMP form already has a financial sheet in it. And that's why I say in the instructions, I say, If you're using the HAMP form, remove page number 4 from my package because you don't need it. Okay, so this is the financial. But I'm going to show you how it looks like. So it has monthly income data. So you have the borrower 1, borrower 2, co-borrower or co-borrower, depending how many borrowers there are on the loan. It could be up to 4, for example. Monthly take-home pay, commissions and bonuses, and other income. Now, I say specify, meaning that you actually have to circle what kind of income it is. Sometimes I get people to write me here $500, but they don't tell me what it is. And they say, well, it's child support. Okay, I need to see paperwork. If it's child support, I need to see court documentation that shows that you're actually receiving that money. I need to see the coupons, the deposits, or something that you're getting for child support and so on. So everything has to be documented. And that's why I said you have to let them know in advance the things that you need. And this is the total expenses. And I have it divided in 3 different groups. The first group is called the assets. And this is where you put the estimated value of your home, any other real estate. By the way, when I say any other real estate, it's exactly what it means. Any other real estate. If somebody owns 6 or 7 different properties, you get the combined value of all the properties that he owns, because on this section here, you're going to put the combined value of all the loans against those properties. So you're going to have $1 million in assets, and you're going to have $900,000 in liens. So your actual assets is only $100,000. And for some people, it's $1 million in assets and $1.2 million in value. So you're probably upside down. But you have to disclose it too. Okay, so any other real estate, automobile, how much your automobiles may be worth, how much you have in your checking accounts, your savings accounts, and I have to include IRA and 401k, but usually I don't put anything there. Mortgage payments. Okay, here we go with the payments. This is the first part of the payments. Mortgage payment and balance due. This is the total balances due for anything here. So mortgage payment, real estate taxes, and homeowners insurance. I separate them now. Some people say, well, the account is impounded. What do I do? Pretty simple. Just write a line here that says escrow, and then just put the amount in there. I mean, it's not that difficult. It's just, just put it there, and that's it. Impounded. You can put here escrow or impound, and you can put one amount right here and 0 on the other one. Any other mortgage or rent that you have to pay out. In this case, will be related to other real estate properties. Alimony and child support, and this is expenses for alimony and child support. If you're paying out child support and alimony, how much you pay for your auto loans, auto gas and maintenance, and auto insurance. Utilities and phone are together. Food and toiletries are together. Like I said, there is not that many spaces, so you don't have to have a detail of everything because you only have so many fields that you can fill out. And this actually, mine is a little bit actually bigger than the one for the HAMP. The one for the HAMP, the spaces are less. There's only like 3 or 4 places that you can put stuff. Medical expenses and insurance, or medical expenses in medicines and things like that. Student loans and credit cards. I only have 3 spaces for credit cards because that's all, as many spaces as I had available. If they have more than 3 credit cards, you just want to combine all the total balances and combine all the total payments on the credit cards. That's just that. Okay, let's keep moving forward. That's simple, right? I mean, it's not that complicated. It's going to take, to fill up a financial sheet, it's going to take about, if you have everything in the package, it could take you about 10, 15 minutes approximately, maybe 20 minutes, because you have bank statements, paycheck stubs, and things like that, and the list of expenses. It's going to take you about 15, 20 minutes at the most. Hardship letter. I have a format for hardship letter that already has a signature line in the bottom. This hardship letter is, of course, blank. Some people come to my office and they have not written the hardship letter, and I make them write it right then and then. Some other people bring me the hardship letter in Spanish, and what I do is I just translate it. That's okay as long as you keep the Spanish version in your folder, because if somebody asks, you know where you have it. Some other people bring me the letter written, and what I do when they come to the office, I put the letter on top of this one here, and I just make a photocopy and I make them sign it. Pretty simple, not complicated, okay? So that's the hardship letter. These 2 here are important. Number 1, authorization to release credit information. One of the biggest problems we were having with bank last year is that every time we submit a package, they will kick us out of line because they say, well, we need to run their credit and we don't have their permission to run their credit. In some occasions that happens, right? So I decided to include it in the package, and now that I have it in the package, I haven't had any problem whatsoever. They're not asking me anymore, or they're not kicking me out of the system just because they don't have an authorization to pull credit. In some cases, they will pull credit, in some cases they won't. When do they do, when do they don't? It's a big mystery to me. I would suggest that maybe if they don't believe the person is saying the truth in their financials, maybe that's the reason why they run their credit. I don't know. And legal and tax aspects. Basically, these two forms here, these two paragraphs here say, we are not attorneys or CPAs. We cannot give you legal or accounting advice. If you need if you need legal or accounting advice, you should consult your attorney or your CPA. Then that also protects you a lot right there. Next one, hold harmless agreement. This one says basically that we make no guarantees. We don't know if